Welcome back! It's Demon Hunter time. We are getting finally to the class cards. This is Adwicta in the Scholomance Academy card review.
This is Merps 3.5 hours in, finally getting to the first of 10 classes. Oh, making great time. Thank you for hanging out. Let's jump right into it, okay? Because this is exciting. Look, Demon Hunter is the new toy. They were OP, and then they sucked, and now they still suck, but less so. And what does Scholomance have in store for Demon Hunter? Well, they have True Aim Crescent. Okay, let's look at this card for a second. This is a card that we had to exclude. Why do we exclude it, by the way?
We excluded it because it would have taken a really freaking long time to like tell the system what this card actually does, and then afterwards it may take too long to freaking calculate it, and we are running out of time.
So, all right, this score is from the mind of Merps. Okay, this is from the mind of Merps, and Merps usually hates on cards. All right. Merps does not like to give scores that are too high. Merps also does not understand why he's talking.
In Scholomance Academy was all about bringing cards up. This is literally the first expansion where you looked at the tier list review after the first round of algorithm numbers and you were like, here are the list of cards I think should be higher, instead of the other way around.
It's crazy. But at a score of 200, we have True Aim Crescent, which is a dual Demon Hunter and Hunter card. It's a 1 mana, 1/4 weapon. After your hero attacks a minion, your minions attack it too. What does this mean? It means that if your minions have summoning sickness, well, they now have rush. If your minions already have the ability to attack, well, now they're just adding face damage, because what happens? You attack face with your minions, and then you use True Aim Crescent to attack the opposing minion, and then your minions trade into it. We know how good Light's Justice is for a class like Pound, and we know how good Candle Shot is for a class like Hunter, for example. In aggressive classes, now I would say we didn't break it down in terms of scores for like Demon Hunter and Hunter.
No, I did. It's about the same. I mentally broke it down.
You mentally broke it down. So what happens here is that not only do you get a weapon that we know is good, we've seen Candle Shot, and that's, these sorts of weapons in aggressive decks and aggressive classes, but you basically have just a Candle Shot and a Light's Justice that sometimes gives free rush, which is great, and sometimes gives just a random extra 10 damage to the face. This is the best aggro card Blizzard has ever printed. There, I've said it. It's the best aggro card they have ever printed. Now, obviously, Blizzard prints this card after they have given every single class like 10 bazillion different ways to defend against aggro. But yeah, this is the absolute best aggro card that has ever been printed by Blizzard for the arena. Look, I understand
it's really hard for aggro cards to get scored like high, because they're mostly just like a lot of tempo in the early game. You can only get so many points for that. But yeah, this card,
it's absolutely disgusting. So it's a 200, and you can say it's a little bit higher, it's a little bit lower. I don't think anyone is looking at True Aim Crescent as being like, okay, it's less than a super duper premium,
This is the best card in Demon Hunter.
Yeah, it's ridiculously good. And I am very happy they had this card. I am salivating at the fact, I'm like, my gosh, in the good old Merps Hunter days, if Hunter had this card, first of all, they wouldn't, because then Merps Hunter wouldn't exist, because it wouldn't be a diamond in the rough, because then, aggro would just dominate because of this stupid one card.
Okay, it is an epic card. You're not going to see it that often.
Yep.
But we're in Demon Hunter right now, not Hunter. So I should bring up that Demon Hunter's hero power also just adds an attack onto this, making it even better.
Yeah, and also Demon Hunter is the more aggressive class
Yes.
right now.
Demon Hunter is the most aggressive class by far.
Yeah. In terms of the aggro tools that they have.
It goes like Demon Hunter and then like Paladin and then like maybe Warlock. You know, then a bunch of classes in very similar rankings. So yeah. Great card. And in case you're wondering, like if you looked at all the neutrals and you heard our scores and we're like 135, 125, you're like, oh my god, is this whole set gonna be so like just interesting but low power? No, there's plenty of freaking high power class cards like this one. We're not even done with the super premiums. Let's look at the next card. Cycle of Hatred. This is a pure Demon Hunter card. 7 mana, 179. This is now the second best Demon Hunter card after True Aim Crescent in the game. Deal 3 damage to all minions, so Hellfire it. Then summon a 3/3 spirit for every minion killed. Your minions, your opponent's minions, just fill your board with 3/3s. I don't know what else to say about this, but it's a rare card, so it's not even epic. You're going to see it quite frequently. It's freaking insane. Play around this card. You know me. I play around nearly no specific cards. Like, I play around board clears, I play around hard removals, I play around giant taunts. I never play around a specific card. I will play around Cycle of Hatred when I am facing Demon Hunters. At least until they either nerf this card or they nerf its offering rate and it micro adjust. Because this card will get you killed from having a pretty damn decent board.
Yep. Yeah, this is really good. I saw some people also comment. It's like, well, I thought this would have been the number 1 card. Sure. The difference between a 180 and a 200 is like, whatevs. It's just insanely good, right? Like, I don't think much more needs to be said. It's one of the most powerful AoEs they've ever printed, just because of the swing potential here. And it's really hard to play around this. Like, it just really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Merp says it's like the difference is the same. He doesn't mean mathematically. He just means like when you see it, you pick it. Like, you don't get to pick which of these cards go in your deck. Blizzard picks.
Yeah, that's basically it. So, okay. We got Cycle of Hatred, just super duper premium. By the way, True Aim Crescent and Cycle of Hatred, these are, after they come out, they automatically are better than any Demon Hunter card currently in existence. And number 3 is the same.
Like, also, this is the third best Demon Hunter card now, after the other 2 that we just did.
So this expansion is introducing the 3 best Demon Hunter cards that Demon Hunter will have.
But keep in mind, Demon Hunter used to have better cards. They just all got nerfed. So it's going to be interesting to see if these cards get nerfed too.
That's the thing, right? Like, Demon Hunters used to have some really good cards, but then they got nerfed, and the offering rates were pathetically low for a while. Just so pathetically low. So, we have Marrow Slicer. This is a 4 mana, 4/2 weapon. Battlecry, shuffle 2 soul fragments into your deck. Soul fragments are essentially 0 mana kind of spells. Whenever you draw them, you regain 2 health, and then you draw another card. So they're just like delayed healing essentially, and you can do things with soul fragments. So it's like a true silver with delayed healing, but also upside, because soul fragments enable you to do quite powerful things if you have the soul fragment synergies.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty simple card. You see it, you take it. Unless you already have like 4 of these, then don't take any more. But if you don't have 4, take it. And if people are wondering, like, oh, what about Coilfang Warlord? Isn't that also really good? How is that worse than this card? It's a 171. This is a 175. It's basically the same.
So yeah, it's basically the same. It's, once again, Coilfang Warlord. It's held back a tiny bit by the fact that it's 8 mana, right? So
yeah, 8 mana instead of 4. Also, the first body may not die. You need a target for it to die if you want it to taunt.
That's actually problematic.
It is.
We'll run into that a small percentage of times. But once again, like Marrow Slicer is a 175, Coil Fang is a 171. It's essentially the same. If you say like, oh, I think Coil Fang is a little bit higher. Okay, fine.
And
That's fine.
now the fifth best card after Quillfang Warlord in Demon Hunter is Voracious Reader, the neutral card. We covered it in neutral, but it's good in Demon Hunter because Demon Hunters are one of the only classes that very consistently empties their hand anymore. So this is insane if you can empty your hand in this meta, and Demon Hunters can do it. So this card's insane.
Demon Hunters are really one of the only classes that routinely empties their hand.
Yeah.
They actually empty their hands quite often. Other classes struggle to empty their hands.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you'll see people close to overdrawing on like turn 8 or turn 9.
Yeah.
And it's not like they've been just sort of throwing and not playing anything. No, they play stuff. It's just every one of those cards just keeps on generating more stuff.
Yep.
So, but Demon Hunters, they are, they keep on tempoing, and they're very susceptible to, sort of getting wiped. And then they put out their waves, and yeah, something like Voracious Reader is incredible for Demon Hunters. Actually, really good.
Okay, now let's move on to the sixth best Demon Hunter card, also in the new set. Demon Hunters are getting pretty good cards, okay? I think this would have seemed less ridiculous if they haven't nerfed all their old cards. So, this one's a common. It's Viofine Trainer, 4 mana, 5/4, which is already normal statted. Then Outcast. Remember, Outcast triggers in 2 of the positions in your hand. It's not like too hard to trigger. Summon 2 1/1 demons. So if you can get this to trigger on curve, oh my god. If you can't get it to trigger on curve, it's still a pretty decent sized minion in the late game. Like you're not suffering here. So yeah, it's at a 163. This is a super premium card. This is don't sleep on this one. It's not terribly exciting. Like, it's not like doing crazy stuff, but just like Marrow Slicer doesn't do crazy stuff. It's just a true silver that heals you later instead of heals you now and gives you some synergy. The Viofine Trainer, it's good. Like stuff too much stats into this thing.
Yeah, it is just a ton of stats. And once again, it's not too hard to trigger. And once you do trigger it, it's ridiculously good. So it's just one of those like super not sexy cards, but just gets a ton of points, right? Just gets a ton of points.
All right. Next up, we have 136. So now we're finally at the level of, your normal cards. Oh, Demon Hunter cards have been pushing stuff down. So this is like where Frozen Shadow Weaver is, where Wrapped Golem is. For Demon Hunters, the higher cost cards have like a bigger penalty because you get to it less when it matters. But yeah, this is about like Rusty Raider. This is that level, right? You're like super premium neutrals level. So here you have a shared Warlock Demon Hunter card. 2 mana, deal 3 damage to a minion, shuffle 2 fragments into your deck. Pretty basic. It's worth this much. It seems like it's a pretty highly rated card, but that's because healing is just very important. And you also get to trigger the synergies.
The synergies are usually quite good.
They're really good.
As they're really good. And the healing is just pretty good in general. Like, so not bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next card. I don't know. People might be surprised. It might not be. We have Fell Guardians. Fell Guardians is a 7 mana spell. Summon 3 1/2 demons with taunt. Costs 1 less whenever a friendly minion dies. So this does only trigger when Fell Guardians is in your hand. It's at a 135, which is good, right?
It's very good for Demon Hunter, especially.
It's quite good. I think people routinely underestimate what 1/2 taunts do. I do it as well, but I think you've seen 1/2 taunts are quite annoying. Now, is this bad in a top deck situation? Kind of. Because if you're truly in a top deck situation, like, then it doesn't really matter. Like, you actually don't care about sort of the mana cost of this thing. And if you are anywhere sort of like in the mid game or whatever at all, yeah, you can get this like down, and you can get it pretty down significantly if you have this earlier on. And once again, I think some people are just like, well, even if I get this really cheap, 1/2 taunts don't do anything. That's just not true. But I think people are just like, it's just a 1/2 taunt. No, 1/2 taunts, multiple 1/2 taunts are really annoying. And it does exactly what Demon Hunters want to do, which is create awkward board states such that you can take advantage of it to either go phase or make favorable trades and win the tempo battle.
Yep. Go face. You summon your taunts, you throw your minions to your opponent's face, they go, oh no, I'm busy drawing more cards. And then they die. That's the Demon Hunter way. Next up is 127. So we're now at Scarlet Crusader, Dark Iron Dwarf, Proud Defender levels. You know, your normal, better than Yeti kind of premium, not barely premium drops. And that is Spirit Jailer. Spirit Jailer is your other Soul Fragment card. 1 mana, 1/3, shared Warlock Demon Hunter card. It is a demon. You shuffle 2 Soul Fragments into your deck. 1/3s. I mean, for Demon Hunters, they're probably better than other classes. But they're not like super good. But again, the Soul Fragments, just being able to freaking heal. Being able to heal is very important for Demon Hunters if you want to go into the mid game.
Yep. It's fine. Like, 1 mana 1/3s are always fine, especially with the tag. It's okay. All right.
Next, this is a card everyone was super high on. We have it at a 125, which I think some people may think is low. I'm pretty sure this is going to gain a few points once we do the change in a bit, but it's not going to gain that many points. Like, it's not going to be
like right.
It's going to gain less than 10 points. I'm almost certain.
Right. So 130.
Yeah, probably like a 130.
Right now it's a 5. It'll end up being a 130.
It's a 9 mana 10/10. At the end of your turn, steal 1 attack and health from all enemy minions. So at the end of the turn, it's also a demon. So at the end of your turn, the fact that it's a demon is kind of important.
It's actually quite important. Yeah, look, so once again, if you're a huge fat minion that has no taunt, you better do something else, right? Like, you better have some initiative. This doesn't exactly have initiative. Like, it's not like Burly Shovel Fist, which just like punches something for 9 when it comes out, but it's pretty useful. And it steals health and it steals attack. So when this comes out, it weakens all enemy minions, and it can kill them if they're at 1 health as well. It dampens their attack, and it's a 9 mana 10/10. It's really like a 9 mana, I don't know, like 12/12, 13/13 kind of thing. So yeah, it does something. The fact that it is gonna like a 125 or a 130 for a 9 mana card that doesn't like taunt up or immediately kill something is pretty good. That's pretty high. So if you think that it should be like a 150 or like a 170 level card, it's just not. With the way that the game is structured, it just is not. So what you can do is you can just sort of like compare it to any other card that is like really expensive, right? You can compare it to kind of any sort of other expensive card, and you'll see that it's ranked a whole butt ton better than those cards. So for example, Burly Shovel Fist in Demon Hunter, it's a 94, right? And this is quite a lot higher. It's a 125. It'll be a 130, but then Shovel Fist will be a little bit higher as well. So yeah, it's good. It's just, if you think it's like the best card ever, on average, no. It can sometimes be. If you move
this card to like a different class, it'd be a lot better.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunately in Demon Hunter, which has a little bit too aggro of a strategy to keep a 9 mana card that doesn't like do more immediately.
That's the problem. Demon Hunters really want that King Crush.
Yep.
They really want that King Crush. This, it's nice, but they want that King Crush, man.
Next, we have Mage Hunter. Mage Hunter is the Demon Hunter card. I love the design. It's a 3 mana 2/3 rush. Whenever this attacks a minion, silence it.
Pretty cool. It's okay.
It silences a minion, which is really useful because it can get rid of Divine Shield before it deals the damage. It can get rid of Death Rattles. It can just get rid of abilities. Or it's a 3-mana 2/3 rush. What would you normally get on a rush for 3 mana? You probably get a 3-mana 3/3 rush. So it barely loses anything, and then it like can potentially get you like owl-like effects.
Yeah. But once again, a 106 is not good. It's definitely draftable. 106 isn't great. It just like silence isn't that useful. That's the problem with it. It's not like as useful as you might think it is. And some people might just be like, "Oh yeah, of course it's not that good." But I think other people see silence and they value it a lot higher than it should be.
Yeah, for comparison, Owl is a 85. So this is significantly more functional than an Owl and can potentially trigger multiple times, but probably won't.
Probably won't. Or if it triggers multiple times, does it matter?
Right.
Does it actually matter? Right. So yeah, it's okay. It can also break taunts,
Yep.
which is fine.
I think that's its biggest
yeah,
use.
right. And for Demon Hunter, that's valuable. If it wasn't, if there was no value in breaking taunts, this thing would be much lower because it's just really not that great. In Arena, you much prefer pure stats rather than this like weird tech card.
Yep. Next is Soul Shard Lapidary. 5 mana 5/5 Battlecry. Destroy a soul fragment in your deck to give your hero +5 attack this turn. 5 mana 5/5, not so great anymore these days. But if you do have a soul fragment in your deck, you get +5 attack, which is freaking insane. So
it's good, yeah.
If you have a lot of things that put soul shards in your deck, and for the record, you are we are assuming that you put something like 3 soul shards in your deck over the course of the game. Like, there's not you're offering rates for these, so there's only 2 soul shard givers, and they each put 2 in your deck, and you have to draw them. You have to put them in your deck, draft them, they have to draw them, and they have to play them. So it's just kind of low soul shards. But if you have a deck that just happens to have a lot of soul shards, because you're going to take the soul shard cards, they're good. Even like the soul shards themselves are just good, right? Even if you don't do anything with it, then this card gets a lot better. So it's one of those cards where you could think about putting it in your deck as like a worse than Yeti option at 5. But if you have a lot of soul shards, this quickly becomes premium.
Yep. All right. What's the next one?
Oh, Tarot and Chess is 3 cards. Yep, there's 3 cards. My bad. Next one is Demon Companion. You want to talk about this, or you want me to walk through Demon Companion?
You can explain it to me, because the score still weirds me out a bit. I get it. And the more I think about it, the more I get it. But the score still makes me uncomfortable for some reason.
Okay, so Demon Companion is a 1-mana version of Animal Companion. It is a demon card, and it is a hunter card. So hunters now have 2 companions. It is only rated a 98. This is worse than a Yeti, whereas Animal Companion is a lot better than a Yeti. It is rated this low because you can't play it on 1. I mean, you can play it on 1, but it's not good on 1. Because you're summoning the same type of things Animal Companion is summoning. Only instead of getting like a normal 4-drop, you get a normal for 3 mana, you get a normal 2-drop for 1 mana. The problem, of course, is that a 2/1, charge rush, is not particularly good to play on turn 1. It basically is just a Murloc Raider. A 1/2 that gives +1 attack to all your friendly minions is terrible on turn 1 because it's basically just a 1/2. And then you can get a 2/2. And it doesn't even have taunt, right? It's just a 2/2, or does it have taunt? I don't know what all the Demon Companions are specifically.
Yeah, so you have the small Leok. Right?
Yeah, but you have does the 2/2 have taunt? It has taunt?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
then the 2/2 with the taunt is your best option playing on turn 1. But if you look at what a 2/2, like without taunt, for example, is worth, Battle Mage, which is actually in the game. Battle Fiend. No, Battle Mage. Blazing Battle Mage. Blazing Battle Mage in Demon Hunter is a 92. So
this is still better.
This is still better than a 92, but you can only roll it a third of the time. The other 2/3 of the time, you get a significantly worse 1-drop. You actually get like a pretty crappy 1-drop. So playing this card on 1 is bad. I don't know that you shouldn't do it, but if you have other options, you're probably going to go with the other options. This is a card that you play as a utility card somewhere in your curve. And as a utility card, it doesn't do that much, and the whole point of a utility card is for utility, whereas you can't control whatever the hell this card does. So it doesn't fit into any part of your game plan. Like, the algorithm just looks at this card and goes, you don't want to play it, you don't want to play it, you don't want to play it. Oh, but each turn it's in your hand, it's just a 1-mana card. It's like costing you a lot, and it's never going to give you that much later. It's just kind of it does not come together.
Yeah, it's part of the reason why. And look, there's quite a few reasons, but it's part of the reason why, for example, like Dark Iron Dwarf is known as a pretty good card. But Abusive Sergeant, which actually does more, right? Like you have that thing. It's like, oh wait, it has the same Leok effect. It's just smaller. But just being smaller at a certain point, it sinks it. It really sort of sinks it. Like, and that's sort of the problem you have here. In terms of the Abusive Sergeant versus Dark Iron Dwarf kind of thing, where they're both just, you have a 1-mana 1/1 versus a 4-mana 4/4, and actually the Abusive Sergeant, it's giving you the same benefit, right? Just like here, the Demon Companion, it gives you the same benefits, and it gives you sort of the same breakdowns and risk assessments, but the size matters, and that's sort of like why you might think it's better, but it doesn't end up being better, just because Animal Companion, the stats and it just fits well with the functionality of those things. It's like, well, a 4/4 taunt is a lot better than a 2/2 taunt. The fact that you can't ping off the charge minion, Huffer versus, I don't know what the demon one is called, that matters. So all of these come together and you're just like, yeah, it's just not that great. It's not terrible. Once again, it is better overall than Battle Mage, right? It's better overall.
You still take it over Battle Mage. It's around where like a normal 2-drop is for Demon Hunter.
Yeah, so it's not great. At the very beginning, I was like, wait, it has to be better. And I was like, no, it isn't.
It's a 1-drop that's not a 1-drop. It's a utility card that you can't control what utility it gives. Like,
right. And once again, it's like a 1-mana card that gives you, on average, 1.5 mana's worth of value. Is that good? Yeah, but like the difference between 1 mana and 1.5 mana really isn't that much. Like you really don't care that much about it. So
especially because you don't get that on average when you play it on turn 1. So you're just getting that tempo on later turns.
And you getting screwed on turn 1 hurts a lot more than you getting screwed later on. So it's not great.
All right, next you have Blood Herald, which is a Demon Hunter hybrid card, 5-mana 1/1. Whenever a friendly minion dies while this is in your hand, gain +1/+1. This one is not anywhere near as good as the Fell Guardians because you're just making a really big thing, but you have to pay 5 mana for a really big thing anyway, and it's probably not going to be that big even on turn 5. Like, I'd be surprised if it was a 6/6 on turn 5, even if you had it in your hand in the very beginning, because you'd have to have 5 minions die. Seems like a lot. You have to generate some tokens to make that happen, and this is Arena. You can't control if you have tokens or not. So really, like, in a normal situation, you just kind of hold on to it for a while. Now, holding cards is significantly less punishing than it was before this meta, but Demon Hunters still get rid of their cards pretty fast, and overall, you're getting a big dumb minion, but you have to hold the card for a while, and do you really need a big dumb minion? Like, it's 87, it's Ogre Magi level, Hench Clan Sneak. Like, it's draftable, it's playable, it's just not good.
I think people are more surprised at the fact that it is playable. I
think that it's playable? Well, you just keep it in your hand while you do other stuff, right? It's only dangerous staying in your hand is that it blocks a outcast card.
I think people might be surprised at the amount of times you are able to turn this into a 5-mana 6/6 or like a 5-mana 7/7. You do flood out with Demon Hunter. It happens. And in Hunters as well, like you're able to you put out just lots of like annoying small things. They are gonna die eventually. And yeah, like you will be able to get out like a 5-mana 5/5, 6/6, sometimes a 7/7, not often, as reflected by the score. So it's not the worst.
Yeah.
It's somewhat draftable, right? Like,
and you're thinking of it in tempo. Like, I'm just thinking about it like, okay, so eventually, right, if this goes into the mid game, you have a 5-mana 7/7 or 5-mana 8/8. Like, that's not bad. It's still an 8/8. Right? And you're still not like losing tempo by playing it. You're gaining some tempo. Doesn't matter too much, but it's still a big card, right? And what you want in the mid-late game is big cards.
Yep, definitely. So that's sort of where it's at. Like, Blood Herald is close to, well, it is the same score as Dragonling Mechanic. You know,
for the record. I have been on a crusade to lower the score of Dragonling Mechanic for 2 years now, and the algorithm just won't have it.
Dude, Dragonling Mechanic is okay, alright?
I refuse to believe that it is okay, and I have never had an experience in a deck where this card is okay. But I'm just wrong, because this card is too basic for the algorithm to be wrong on.
Remember that the average score of a drafted card is like
118, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a 120. It's around a 120. So when you think it's like, oh, dude, Blood Herald is really bad. Yeah, it is really bad. But look, it has some potential. Like the cards that are really low have like zero potential or are so bad. You know.
Hey,
so 87.
Don't tell me my Hungry Crab doesn't have potential.
Oh my. Okay, it has potential. It has some potential. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry about that. So yeah, I understand. Some people might be like, "Well, why isn't this like a 50?" It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Like you will get some use out of it sometimes, and that's good enough for an 87.
Okay, next up, this is a big point where I mentioned this on the Lightforge at some point, and then Taro really wanted to talk to me about this card, and I was like, I like this card. I like what it does. I think it'll be powerful.
I was like.
You were skeptical. Taro was very skeptical. Now we're here. The algorithm has spoken. We built this whole mechanic in. We've looked at it a few different ways. This is just unfortunately not a good card.
Yeah, you were high on it. I was like, I can't imagine the algorithm liking this. And I'm glad to know it was correct.
Yeah, you're right. The disruptive effect is just not big enough in the arena to like actually bring this to the level that I thought it was going to go. It's Glide, it's 4 mana. Shuffle your hand into your deck, draw 4 cards. Outcast, your opponent does the same. So you are going to get a decent amount of card draw from this, most likely, because your opponent is probably going to have way more cards than you because you're a Demon Hunter and you've structured your plays knowing this card. But it does cost 4 mana to do so, and you are going to be discarding your cards that you don't care about, or else you wouldn't play Glide yet. Your opponent is going to discard a mixture, and that's the thing I didn't like fully build in that the algorithm has. Your opponent is going to discard a mixture of cards they don't want to play and they don't want to have in their hands. That's why they haven't played it, because it sucks. And also cards. That's what I didn't think about that. I don't know why. I just didn't think about that. I was like, oh, they're going to be holding average cards and then cards they really want to hold, and I'm going to screw over their Mind Blast. But yeah, they're also going to be holding, you know, your Hungry Crabs if they have them in their deck. So you're not really necessarily getting, it kind of averages out. Where sometimes your opponent is like holding on to the mind, or they probably are holding on to cards that they think are really good, but they are also holding on to total trash cards. But you are holding on to much more trash cards, so you are getting some advantage in that trade, and you're going to get more cards than them, but at a 4 mana card that you have to trigger on an Outcast, or else it's totally not worth it. You just have to wait too long for it, and then it doesn't do enough. Compare that to just like freaking Voracious Reader, right? Which doesn't do anything to your opponent, but you just get 3 cards rather than 4, but it costs 2 less mana, and you put something on the tempo, and they have to deal with it, because if you have the board, it'll come again. Like, and it doesn't have to be outcast, although at that point you're outcasting anyway. And it could probably function as a weird 2-drop if you absolutely needed to do it. By the way, for Voracious Reader, maybe not in Demon Hunter, actually probably in Demon Hunter too, but in definitely every other class, you do play Voracious Reader as a 2-drop. Like, if you have nothing to do on turn 2. So it is a thing to put on the board. A 1/3 is not nothing. But anyway,
it sucks, but hey, like, something is better than nothing, right?
Yeah, and you're very likely to just be like otherwise Voracious Reader is stuck in your hand for like 10 turns. Like, that's the thing. If you don't play it then, because you're gonna keep having cards.
So
yeah, Glide.
Yeah. Ooh.
I'm sad. I'm very sad about Glide not working out.
All right. Well, so I think some people have been vindicated. I think you, with your fancy schmancy dreams of gliding your way to victory, it's not gonna happen.
I mean, it's not like terrible, right? Jungle Panther's here, Fen Creeper's here. I still put them in my deck sometimes when I have to. Alright. Next up is Double Jump. It's 1 mana. Draw an Outcast card from your deck. It's very good because it gets a card out of your deck. And you draw it, so it automatically triggers the Outcast if you play it on the same turn. But you need an Outcast card in your deck. And sometimes you don't have an Outcast card in your deck, and it's a dead card. So that's kind of where it's at.
It's really bad, by the way. Yes, that becomes an extraordinarily bad situation. And also, like, look, triggering Outcast effects are really good, but when you have to pay an additional mana in order to do it, like, yeah, you know, you're able to find it, but you're paying 1 mana more for it, so it dampens the effect as well. It's not good. It's just not.
Yeah.
Double Jump.
I mean, in Constructed, I'm sure it's great, but in Arena, there's not enough Outcast cards to make it like super consistent. Okay, next is a Warlock Demon Hunter card, 1 mana, Philosophy, Fell Philosophy. It's a 77. This is where your South Sea Captain's at. This is where your Bad Luck Albatross is. I'm still bitter about Bad Luck Albatross because they nerfed it, right? So you think it wouldn't be everywhere, but every time I have a Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, I face every other opponent with a Bad Luck Albatross. Okay. Anyway, Philosophy is 1 mana. Copy the lowest cost demon in your hand. Outcast. Give both +1/+1.
You gotta have a demon.
Yeah. And then you gotta want another copy of it and like have it matter, so it can't even be a small demon.
That's really the thing, or that's really the problem with Philosophy. You have to, like, the stars have to align in which you have to draw. Okay, if you have this and you don't have a demon that matters, well, this sucks. It's literally a dead card, it doesn't do anything. And you can't hold on to your demons waiting for this because it's not worth it. Because if you got to play your demon, you got to play your demon, right? Just play your stuff. This sucks.
Yeah.
That's it.
And if you're trying to use it for... So I've seen a comment a couple times throughout whenever we deal with a 1 mana card, but it can trigger Spellburst easily. Okay, you have like 1 or 2 Spellbursts in your entire freaking like deck, alright? Like... You don't necessarily need to hold on to a bad card just because you can trigger this thing more easily. Like, you're giving up a card essentially to trigger the Spellburst on another card that's already getting a little anti-tempo for having the Spellburst. You know, you're like throwing bad money after good. I mean, good money after bad. I don't know. You're just throwing money. You're throwing your resources.
Yeah.
And this one's especially bad for that purpose. I just want to point out because you also have to have a demon in your hand when you want to use it to trigger a spellburst. So you need this card, a spellburst, a demon that you want to copy. That's just not happening.
Yep. Okay. And lastly, we have Shard Shatter Mystic. 3 mana, 3/2 Battlecry. Destroy a soul fragment in your deck to deal 3 damage to all other minions. It's a 51. Look, if for some reason you're lucky enough to draft a ton of the soul fragment cards, which are just naturally good, right? We've established that they're just naturally good. This could be a lot better, but on average, you will not get that much.
Hold on. I'm going to put a pause on this card. I don't think I looked this far down the tier list when I reviewed it. This feels wrong to me.
It feels
mostly because Cold Light Seer is 2 points higher.
But I will say
it's not a good card. Like
it's not good. It's not. It might not be 51 bad, but no, it's bad.
Yeah.
So
you guys will see. We have ZD Man here on the line. I'm telling him to look at it right now, make sure it's like inputted correctly and stuff. But yeah, I imagine this will go up some. So you could check the tier list tomorrow, like when the tier list is released.
Yeah, a 3-mana 3/2 is really bad.
Yeah, but a 3-mana 3/2 is like a 50-point bad. This can't be a 51-point.
Yeah.
If a 3-mana 3/2 is a 50-point bad, this should be like a 70-something. Not that it matters, just don't draft this card, unless you have a crap ton of soul fragments and you are a control deck.
Yeah. So, is it going to be better than 51? I'm sure it is, but it's not. We can just say it's not great, okay? And then we can move on from there. Let's talk about legendaries. Yes. All right. With the lack of response, I'm gonna go on to legendaries.
Yes.
All right. We are going to start off. Oh, are these correct? These scores? Oh, wait. We need to look at the sheet, don't we?
No, I have the correct scores. You just have to hit refresh.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. You take us on this grand adventure.
All right. So there's 3 legendaries, which is one more than the other classes get. Oh, actually, no. No, there's the same amount the other classes get because we have dual classes. Anyway, we're going to start from the bottom and go to the top. The worst one is Sociologist Malacia. Sociologist Malacia is 7 mana 5/5 battle cry for each soul fragment in your deck. Summon a 3/3 soul with rush. Look, you're gonna have something like 2-3 soul fragments in your deck, maybe. That's before you actually draw them, and you may end up drawing some of them even if you put into your deck before you play this card. This high synergy card, right? If you happen to have a lot of those cards, sure, this card works. Most decks, this card's not going to really work. 95 is not terrible, because 7 mana with a 5/5 and a 3/3 rush is okay. And you take the high roll times where you have 2 in your deck, and then you take the low roll times where you have none in your deck, and you just have to hold this card until you do.
Great. Okay. Next we have Star Student Stelina. It's a 4-mana 4/3 outcast. Look at 3 cards in your opponent's hand. Shuffle one of them into their deck. Powerful effect. Quite a powerful effect. So part of the problem is that number 1, you're giving up stats on this card. Number 2, it has to be outcast. It's not the easiest, and you basically can't play this unless it's outcast.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah. When I first looked at this card, I was like, "Oh my god!" Because I loved it, screwing my opponents, and this is like the better version of Glide, right? It's like a legendary. But I didn't realize that outcast, so I was really high on it, and I saw the score, and I was like, "What? No, that can't be right." I was like, outcast. I can't play when I actually want to necessarily.
That's the problem with it. So, yeah. And if you're not outcasting it, it is literally. Well, I'm not saying it's literally unplayable, but you really don't want to. You really don't want to. All right. So 107. It's below average ish for what you're going to have in your deck. Okay. Let's move on to some. Let's see. Yeah, let's move on to the good legendary. Is this the final score? Just want to make sure.
Yes, this is the final score.
Ooh, okay. We have Ace Hunter Creen. This is a 3-mana 2/4. Your other characters are immune while attacking. This is a 145. I think some people might think it's low. Why is it not a 300 like Pyros?
It's not a 300 like Pyros because you need a board for it to really do anything. Otherwise, you're just saving some face damage.
Yep.
You hopefully a lot of times you don't have a board. And if you don't have a board, you play this and you play other cards. Maybe you have some rush and then it'll be fine. And if you don't have rush, then this card's probably going to die because it's a 2/4. It's not going to live if you don't have the board. So there's so many situations in which it just can't do its job. But it's still a 145 because when it can do its job, not only is it really good by saving all of your minions, if you have a weapon in your hand or something that saves your face damage, on top of that, those minions live. And so they get immunity again the next turn when they attack. So it spirals itself. So when it's good, it's really good. But it's also a dead card in your hand quite a significant amount of times, and you can't just play it as a 3-drop very well because 3-mana 2/4s are kind of terrible.
Yeah, the real problem is, if you're just going tit for tat with your opponent, on turn 3, this is just really underwhelming. Like, really underwhelming. 3-mana 2/4s are incredibly bad. So, yeah, it holds it down a little bit. If this were like a 3-mana 3/4, well, a whole different story. But then, of course, it would be completely busted. So, thankfully, it is not that. Okay, that's it. That's Demon Hunter. Wow, it only took us 45 minutes.
I'm telling you, Demon Hunter takes forever because there's so many more cards in this class than other classes. And we had to do both of the dual classes. From here on out, every class we do, we only have to do one of the dual classes. We would have covered the other one in the previous class. Well, we're gonna daisy chain this across all the classes now. Warlock is next. Overall, let's put up some final thoughts on Demon Hunter before we leave Demon Hunter. We are 45 minutes now since we first brought you this card, True Aim Crescent, and then Cycle of Hatred, and then Marrow Slicer, and then Viofine Trainer. I just want to bring them back so people don't forget that they exist because we, ended on the bad cards. And there are a number of bad cards in Demon Hunter, and there's very few bad cards in this entire set. So Demon Hunter actually has a decent amount, but they also have the best cards, like when it comes to your commons and your rares. Not the best cards. There's one class with better cards, but they're up there. This is like the second most benefited class by this set.
Yeah, and if you look at cards that fit with identity of the class, yeah, Demon Hunter has quite a few of those cards, right? It's like they have good weapons that, one weapon promotes rush and face damage. The other weapon gives them a little bit of healing and just a little bit of extra utility as well. Huge AoE, which turns the AoE into an insane amount of tempo, which is exactly what Demon Hunters want. So they have the tools. Now, it's just up to Blizzard because, once again, Blizzard decides if a class is going to be good or not. It doesn't matter what cards they get. If Blizzard says you're going to be bad, you're going to be bad. If Blizzard says you're going to be the best class in the meta, you are going to be the best class. Because of the adjustments, that's really where we're at. So it's hard for us to exactly predict. It's like, oh yeah, this class is going to be good, because it's completely up to Blizzard to say whether or not they want that class to be good.
Yeah. What we can say, though, is that this is one of the few aggro classes that are aggro capable, and it is the best aggro class. We'll see. But it's definitely going to be up there. So if you want to aggro play style, even if it's not the best class, this is a class you want to be picking, right? You don't want to go and draft a mage and try to make the mage aggro. You may be able to do it, but you're going to have a much higher odds with a class like Demon Hunter. So as long as they don't nerf Demon Hunter to hell like they did for most of the last meta, it's going to have a place in this meta. And because I didn't play that much Demon Hunter after the initial boom because they nerfed it to hell, I'm really excited about playing some Demon Hunter in the upcoming meta. These are good, solid cards. All right. That's it for us for this. You want to give some shout outs to the patrons before we leave this?
Yes, thank you to our Patreons, Nordosh, Cheng Yin, Joel Turnbull, RV Night Train, Yin, Eric L, 4P, and Brand New. Thank you for supporting us. And you too can become a Patreon by going to patreon.com and supporting the Grinning Goat.
Yeah, and if you're a Patreon from July, this is very early in August, and we don't have all the information sorted from the end of July Patreons. So we apologize if you're a new Patreon in July and we didn't give you a shout out, but you will get shout outs starting in the next Lightforge. All right. Have a good. Oh, I was gonna say have a good night. Don't have a good night. Stay tuned right now because we're about to move on to Warlock. You can see my mind's already like, all right, I'm done. Well, I don't. We got 9 more classes to go. Warlock is next. See you guys on the turn.